Shannon, to start with you, obviously, congratulations on the win. What did you make of it today?
I mean, Sydney played really hard. I think at the start, like, they were switching a lot of screens and things, and we just didn't do a great job of punishing that. I think it sort of bogged us down and slowed us down, and that's kind of obviously why they probably did it. But we didn't, we don't want to play that way. So, I think once we adjusted, we had a couple of timeouts there where we talked about it, and I think finally we started to make an adjustment and just get the game back playing the tempo that we wanted to play at. I think we looked a lot better, and then after half-time, I think our defence was much better than it was in the first half. It was a little bit just lacklustre, I think, from where we would expect it to be. And, I think the girls made that adjustment and did a great job in the second half.
I think something you talked about last week after that press conference was that they kind of highlighted your mistakes. How much of a priority just this week in training was that, just to kind of reinforce where you guys weren't going so well and to bring it to Sydney this week?
Yeah, look, we definitely addressed some of that stuff. Obviously, I think with a lot of these things, it's not just something you can be totally better, 100% better at in one game or two. We had two practices basically, so we can't just walk into the next game and magically be better at those things. But I think it's more of the process of understanding what those things are, and then applying ourselves every day at practice. So hopefully by 2/3 of the way through the season, 3/4 of the way through season, at the end of the season, we're finally good at a lot of those areas, and we can go into hopefully finals if we make it, and play our best basketball then.
Obviously today you were without Courtney Woods. How much of that did that impact the game plan, which was set?
Look, I mean, obviously when you lose a player of Courtney's calibre, it's going to make a difference. I think we're really lucky. We've got some great depth in our team, so we can have different people step up at different times. And I thought Lauren Cox came in today and actually did that for us, and obviously helped us with scoring when we were struggling in the first half, but also anchoring the defence a little bit more with us with that. And obviously Miela had a good game as well, and we've always got multiple players who can step up and kind of get that double-figure scoring done. But I think it's going to be an adjustment for the next couple of weeks while Courtney's out for us, not having her presence on the floor and leadership and even just playmaking. So I think that's going to go to Abby and Lucy a lot more, and I think they're just going to keep getting better and better with more responsibility each game as well.
Obviously you did put Lucy on in that starting five position. What did you kind of make of that? Because obviously she comes from the bench a lot of the time.
Yeah, look, I mean, she was probably the logical choice. We could have probably went a bit bigger and matched with Emma Nopu there, but we obviously want to get our offense going and play the style we want. And I think having three creators on the floor allows us to do that. And I think Lucy's doing a great job. I think whether she's playing on the ball or off the ball, she's got the ability to, not only score but facilitate for her teammates as well. And as I said, I think once we figured out that Sydney was switching everything, and we then got to counters and made the right reads a little bit more often, good things happen. And I think it's a good learning game for for not just Lucy but Abby, Miela as well. All of our guards, that when switches happen, what the next read needs to be. And if Sydney do that again on Tuesday, we'll have another chance to practice against that as well.
Miela, obviously another great game for you, and also the Opals call-up this morning. Has this kind of been just one of those weeks, one of those great weeks for you?
Yeah, I think definitely the Opals call-up was definitely exciting to see four of us from the team in the squad. So yeah, super exciting. But then had to lock in for today. Obviously, that's the main priority right now is WNBL. So, but yeah, no, good day.
As Shannon touched on, Sydney really brought it to you, especially in that first half. How did you kind of view that game just from your perspective?
Yeah, I think kind of like just Shannon said, I think we started probably a bit slow, and they kind of slugged us down with the switching. But it was our job to lock in on the second half and adjust, and I think we did do that. We'll take that into the next game.
And I think I can't count now. This is another 20-point plus performance for you. Why are you finding such good form at Townsville?
I think that comes from Shannon, the coaches. They feed you with confidence and they get you in the best position for your strengths, but also help you work on the stuff you need to work on as well. But also I think just team play. My teammates find me, I've got to knock it down. I'd say it comes from a bit of everything. Yeah.
Shannon, great game. Obviously, it was a game of two halves. First half it was pretty tight. Lead changed a number of times. second half things started to fall your way, but there were a lot of fouls on both sides. How did you adjust for that?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think a lot has been said by Renee and by other coaches about us apparently fouling a lot, especially when they were in Townsville last time. And, you know, I think we got called for a bunch of fouls early on. You know, like I think Froling and Fowler both had 2 real quick, a couple offensive fouls, things like that. But, you know, I think we just try and play through that. You know, we're gonna play hard. I think I get frustrated with the team all the time when we stick our hands in at the end of defensive plays and commit fouls on shooters and those types of things. That's something we're not trying to do. But, you know, I think we can't really control like what the refs are going to call. We can control our effort, we can control our focus, and I just think those were the 2 things that we probably didn't do as well in the first half. And then once we fixed that, the result changed. And I think the other side of it is like, I think offensively, once we actually get teams into rotations, that's when they start fouling because they're out of position and now they have to overcompensate for either a bad closeout or having to over-rotate and help on someone, which then leads to the next pass, which makes it even worse, and then that's where fouls happen in basketball. So, you know, I think, like, as I said, their switching probably counteracted some of that early on, and then once we figured it out, we got them into the rotations we wanted, and that's where all the fouls started happening.
Miela, really solid game from you today. How are you finding, you know, you're settling in Townsville in the first year, you're finding your feet really quickly. How do you find, you know, working in with the team and being able to work to get yourself these sorts of opportunities, running up the scores that you've been running up?
Yeah, I think, you know, there was a core group that kind of came back for last year. So us newbies, when we came in, you know, they brought us in, they kind of set the tone, the standard, and, you know, what playing for Townsville means and the style of play. So it was pretty easy, to be honest, because they kind of, you know, brought us in with them. But yeah, kind of following, like I said before, I think that comes from the coaching staff. I think that comes from the group of girls. We have a really good group of girls, and yeah, we all want to see each other get better, and we do that in practice, and then yeah, it takes care of itself in the game.
Finally, Shannon, it's a tight lap all the way through. How long before you think you'll start feeling a little bit more comfortable?
Oh, mate, I think probably not till the end of the season, to be honest with you. I think it's, yeah, like that middle logjam, but even I think now towards the top of the ladder, it's obviously you drop a game that you shouldn't, or you just get outplayed on a day by someone. You know, it sort of is significantly going to impact your ladder position. And, you know, we've been playing well, and I think we're not even in first place. So, like, you know, Perth are chasing behind. I think Canberra, you know, and I think Sydney as well, like, they show in the first half too, and same against Adelaide last week. Like, they're much better than their record shows. And, you know, Renee, I think, is doing a great job of getting those guys playing hard and playing the right way. And they made adjustments from even when we played them, you know, in her first game as a coach a week or so ago, whenever that was. So, you know, I think every single game in our league, if you don't come ready to play and with the right mindset, you can get beaten. And, you know, I think all the games have shown that.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, no worries.
Do we have anyone on Zoom who would like to ask a question? Thank you.
No, perfect.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.